opening statement?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for being here tonight. Many people are watching your answers, so let's start. We'll go through them fairly quickly. They're all short answers. To everyone on the board, the three of you, is it true that the Coal Mining Industry Long Service Leave Funding Corporation purchases and sells shares in other companies by using the services of Hyperion Asset Management?
Yes, Senator, that's correct.
Sorry?
Yes, Senator, that's correct.
Thank you. Did the coal...
Sorry, Senator Roberts.
Sorry.
Could we just get Ms Langby to put her name on the record for Hansard?
Christina Langby, Chair of the Funding Corporation.
Thanks, Ms Langby. Does the Coal LSL Board have oversight of this, and did the Coal LSL Board approve these investments?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. To Mr Kelly, is it true that from 2010 and to this current time that the Black Coal Mining Industry Award terms and conditions are the legal minimum that an employee working in the black coal industry can be paid?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, Mr Kelly, is it true that the Black Coal Mining Industry Award does not allow and does not have a casual classification and pay rate in direct conflict, does not have a casual classification and pay rate for production and engineering roles?
That's correct.
Thank you. Is it true you were the General Secretary of the CFMMEU?
Well, the Mining and Energy Division.
Mining and Energy.
But hopefully not for long.
What do you mean not for long?
Well, we're going out for a ballot, Senator, to
hoping to lose.
Separate. No, we expect to win.
Oh, that's right, separation of unions,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Is it true that you represent the Mining and Energy Division on the boards of the Mine Superannuation Fund and Coal LSL Corporation and New South Wales Renewables Energy Sector Board?
I do. Although the last one I'm in the process of transitioning off.
Okay. Is it true that the CFMMEU Mining and Energy Division negotiated and endorsed enterprise agreements for labour hire companies with employees that work directly in the day-to-day operation of a black coal mine in production and engineering roles?
We do some, yes.
How does the Coal LSL Board and Coal LSL Corporation know and check compliance that black coal industry employees are employed under the Black Coal Award or an enterprise agreement?
I might be better placed to answer that question. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Darlene Perks, Chief Executive Officer, Coal Mining Industry, Long Service Leave Funding Corporation. Senator, the eligible employees of the scheme are defined by the legislation that we work within, and eligibility is determined by the employee's duties, specifically that duties are carried out at or about a black coal mine, and the duties are directly connected with the day-to-day operations. Eligibility of employee is not defined by their enterprise agreements, industrial instruments, so it's not part of our compliance activities to validate an employee's industrial instrument.
So I didn't ask whether that, what criteria we used for getting eligibility. I wanted to know whether or not you used, whether you identified whether they're Black Coal Award or an enterprise agreement.
It's not part of our regulatory function within the statute that we work within, Senator. So
Wouldn't you have to know that as part of your governance so that you can make sure you're receiving factual information and collecting the correct levy?
it's part of the governance of verifying the accuracy of the levies that we collect. It's determined by eligible wages calculation that the employer conducts in line with our guidance notes and the legislation. And for a compliance activity under the Collection Act, the employer is obligated under statute to have that information verified by an independent auditor. And that audit report is submitted to us, and that will inform us whether the submission of levies have been accurately calculated over the previous 12 months by that employer.
So you don't satisfy yourself for proper governance, you get an auditor to do it?
We work within the statute, and that is our role, and the statute says under the Collection Act that the employer must submit an annual audit report verifying the accuracy of the eligible wages. So we are meeting our obligations as a regulator under our Act.
So the auditor is appointed by the employer?
That's correct.
Okay. To everyone on the board, is it true that the Coal LSL Board was notified about the KPMG review into Coal LSL?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. To Ms Langby, is it true that you worked for KPMG as the Assistant Manager of the Audit Division from 1992 to 1996?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Again to you, Ms Langby, is it true that you are currently or have been on both the board of Coal LSL and Mine Superannuation Fund?
That is correct.
Thank you. To all three on the board, can you explain briefly why all Coal LSL annual reports were sent to the Minister for Employment for each financial year?
Why?
Yes.
I understand that's the requirement, Senator.
Okay. To all three of you, is it true that you were all notified by email, as was Ms Perks, Chief Executive Officer, and Ms Jenkins, Executive of Corporate Governance Executive, on the 16th of July 2018 about a serious issue of employer non-compliance with Coal LSL legislation and non-payment of Coal LSL known as Group 22?
That's correct,
That's
Senator.
Thank you, Ms Perks. Is it true that Ms Perks, CEO, and a previous Coal LSL board member, Mr Mark Klassen, attended a meeting on site at Bloomfield Mine and Rix's Creek Mine about this issue?
That is correct, Senator.
Thank you. Is it true that this is to the board, is it true that the Coal LSL board was made aware of 260 non-compliant employers in early 2014 and was then contacted by the 2014 Employment Minister, Mr Eric Abetz, about this issue?
Senator, I wasn't on the board at that point in
I
time.
wasn't on the board either.
Senator, I wasn't on the board. Jennifer Short, Director.
Ms Perks?
There was a quon that we responded to from the last hearing, Senator, and that quon provided the letters of correspondence that you're referring to.
Thank you.
Again, that was before my employment, but the quon certainly supplied that correspondence to you.
Thank you. Is it true that the Coal LSL board had a meeting on the 30th of April 2014 about this issue?
None of us were employed at the
Senator.
part of the organisation at that time, Senator.
Okay, we have the documents showing this happened. To all the board, was this serious issue reported in the early financial report to the Employment Minister? If not, why not?
Are you talking about the report relevant to the date that you're referring to, in
And
2014?
subsequently.
It's not reported in the last 2 years' reports that I'm aware of, and
So it wasn't reported in the annual report to the responsible minister when the minister previously wrote to you about it?
I'm not sure about in 2014, Senator. I can't answer that question, sorry.
And what about subsequently? The report goes in?
In the last year since I've been on the board, it hasn't been specifically referred to the Minister, although, Ms Perks, I do understand that you have regular briefings with the Minister about these issues.
That's right, yes.
Have the non-compliant companies in the Group 22 been all been identified by you and premiums been correctly recalculated and paid?
The Group 22 that you're referring to, Senator, there are still compliance matters that are unresolved for a number of those employees, and we continue to engage with that employer in question to have a resolution of that compliant matter.
So all the workers' whose hours were incorrectly calculated, have they all been corrected yet? Not all of them.
Said we're still in engagement with that employer to ensure the rectification of the levies that haven't been paid in relation to the employees that you're referring to.
Thank you. To all on the board, is it true that from 1993 to 2017 that Coal LSL had no directly employed employees to carry out the legislative function and administration of Coal LSL?
That's certainly my understanding.
Thank you. To the three board members, is it true that Coal LSL Board appointed an administration to carry out the legislative functions and services of Coal LSL?
That's my understanding, yes.
Thank you. Again, is it true that the board appointed Coal Services Proprietary Limited and Mine Wealth and Wellbeing to carry out under contract the legislative services and functions of Coal LSL from 1993 to 2017?
I think Mine Super Services was the relevant administrator during that period.
Is that correct, Ms Perks?
Yes.
It was also Coal Services at one stage, Senator. Over the period of time. Well, it simply had name change.
So it's the same entity?
Same
different
entity,
name?
yeah, just different name, yes.
Thank you, just making sure it's correct. Thank you, I appreciate that. To all three on the board, is it true that Coal Services or Mine Wealth and Wellbeing is owned by the CFMMEU 50% and the New South Wales and Queensland Minerals Council 25% each?
That's correct, Senator.
Thank you. Please provide me with copies of the contracts between Coal LSL and Coal/Mine Wealth and Wellbeing related to the contracted out duties of Coal LSL for all those years. You take it on notice.
Taken on notice, Senator.
Thank you. To Ms Short, is it true that the Black Coal Award does not allow casual employment classification in production and engineering roles and has no award pay rate for that classification? And is it true that the award is the legal minimum an employee must be paid?
That's correct.
Thank you. Again to you, Ms Short, is it true that on the 13th, 14th and 15th of February 2017 that you represented the CFMMEU for the applicant in a legal matter for a person that was employed by Chandler McLeod Group in front of Judge Altobelli?
Sorry, Chair, I'm just wondering how that question assists the committee, given that does not relate to my role as a director on this corporation.
I want to understand your connection with it.
Senator, maybe you can just ask another additional question and may clarify whether it's connected.
Okay, Ms Short, is it true that the applicant in the above matter is the same Chandler McLeod employee that the CFMMEU ran a matter before Fair Work Commissioner Stanton in early 2015, where CFMEU and Chandler McLeod both state in writing that this person and all Chandler McLeod employees at Mount Arthur Coal Mine are employed as casuals under the Black Coal Mining Award?
Sorry, Senator, what was that date?
Early 2015.
I would have no knowledge. I was not employed by the MEU or a director of Coal LSL at that time.
You were named in the court ruling documents as the legal representatives for the applicant representing Ms Lisa Zapparello.
Sorry, you said early 2015?
That was 2017.
Oh, yes. In 2017, I was employed by the Mining and Energy Union.
But is it true that the applicant in the above matter for 2017 is the same Chandler McLeod employee, Ms Lisa Zapparello, that the CFMEU ran a matter for Fair Work Commissioner Stanton in early 2015, where CFMEU and Chandler McLeod both state in writing that this person and all Chandler McLeod employees at Mount Arthur Coal Mine are employed as casuals under the Black Coal Mining Award?
Senator, you're asking a question about an entity of Chandler McLeod or two, with one being a reference to early 2015 when I was not employed by the Mining and Energy Union.
You would have been briefed, wouldn't you, about the Stanton matter as the court ruling by Judge Altobelli as a follow-on matter in the court which arose from the Stanton matter?
No, I have no recollection of that matter, but I can take it on notice.
Yes, please. Thank you. Again, to the three board members, have Chandler McLeod ever changed the classification of award-covered employees? And how does Coal LSL verify and check if an employee is award or agreement covered? I think we've dealt with that. And the employment classification recorded by Coal LSL is true and correct?
I think we've already answered that, Senator.
So you don't check it, right? But you know that casuals are illegal?
It's not relevant to long service leave corporations, Senator. Their eligibility isn't based on their award classification, Senator.
But you must ensure that all records are true and correct, so
And
the correct levy is levied?
Ms
collected?
Burks has articulated how that is covered off by the corporation.
Could you please provide a suitably de-identified copy of the levy advice form as supplied by Chandler McLeod in September and October of 2014 that shows the hours worked by each of the de-identified employees? Taken on notice. Thank you. We have records showing that in September 2014 there were 200 plus people showing up at work and logging on and then off 3 minutes later. On October 2014, the next month, 200 plus people mysteriously all working 32 hours for the month. How would that be explained?
Senator, can I just clarify? Are you talking about the log-on system at the mine? And are we talking about the Mount Arthur mine?
Yes, and how is it that 200 people show up at work, log on and then off 3 minutes later, and then the following month they all work 32 hours per month.
All I can suggest, Senator, is that's probably a question for BHP, because ultimately it'll be their system and it's not something any of us would have any knowledge of.
So you would accept it?
I'm not saying it's right or
But
wrong.
Coal LSL
I don't know the answer.
Coal LSL has accepted it?
I don't know the answer to the question. The question is,
Okay.
Is that possible to happen? I don't know. I'd talk to the employer and find out what happened and go from there.
Thank you. Why doesn't Coal LSL require the tax file numbers of eligible employees when an eligible employer registers them with Coal LSL?
Senator, we do not have the authority under, I'm not sure of the specific legislation, but there is an important legislation in the Commonwealth that gives an entity the ability to collect private information such as the tax file number, and we do not have that authority. We would like to collect it, it would help verify it, but no, we don't have the ability to do so.
Okay, thank you, Chair.